Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 2. Today in this video we'd like to explain about macro strategies, integration of types of learning. Before we start today's presentation, let me introduce my group's members. They are Meldha Janneri Uatmia, Miftahul Jannah, Fadli, Muhammad Fadhil, Muhammad Rafi Arlintion, and me, Nazhif Alfaqih Ahmad. Well, without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, let's go to the first part of today's explanation. It is introduction. Our emphasis to this point has been on macro-level strategies, ways to approach instruction on particular topics or goals. The expanded instructional events provide an excellent organizational structure for designing a lesson that may range from one to a few class meetings. This chapter describes curriculum organization patterns, key curriculum design tools and concepts, alternative views of curriculum design, assistance that technology provides to curricula, and guidelines for curriculum design. Okay, let's move to the next part. Curriculum sequencing structures. Curriculum design is concerned with making decisions about the scope, organization, and sequence of content at the macro level. According to Posner and Strink, 1976, and Poster and Rudnitsky in 1994, 5 major categories of curriculum sequencing structures such as world-related structure, inquiry-related structure, utilization-related structure, learning-related structure, and concept-related structure. There are 2 approaches to macro-level strategies development that have grown out of the instructional design, especially learning enterprises and the Elaboration Model. The goal of the Elaboration Model is to allow learners to build necessary skills sets by completing each lesson and to fully understand the concepts that are being taught during the learning process. Okay, from those 5 major categories of curriculum sequencing structure that I have mentioned before, now we go first to world-related structure. In a world-related structure, content is clustered and sequenced according to the way things in the world seem to be organized by time, space, and physical characteristics. An example of organizing by time or chronology would be teaching music history, with units organized by historical periods and sequenced from the time of the earliest known music through the Renaissance, Baroque, Classical, Romantic, and Contemporary periods up to the present day. Okay, the next major category is inquiry-related structure. An inquiry-related sequence and organization teach ideas together because they represent similar phases of inquiry. Following this scheme, a designer would sequence and organize instruction by the steps of inquiry that the scientists in the field pursue. Next is utilization-related structure. A utilization-related organization groups ideas together according to how skills will be used in the future, either personally, socially, or vocationally. Following this orientation, groups of concepts, facts, procedures, or theories are grouped together and taught in such a manner that the first to be taught are those topics that will be used first. The 4th major category is learning-related structure. Learning-related structures organize information in such a way that new learning builds on relevant prior knowledge. One way to use a learning-related structure is through a prerequisite-based organization. If a designer conducted an information processing analysis of the task related to all of the goals for an entire course, the outcome of that analysis would indicate the prerequisite relationships of all the information and skills in that course. And the last major category is concept-related structure. One of the advantages of this structure, in contrast to the prerequisite-based structure, is that the resulting learning may be integrated with clearer relationships of ideas. Jerome Brunner was an educational theorist whose thinking had a major impact on the K-12 curriculum project movement of the 1960s, in which the structure of knowledge within disciplines and the idea of the spiral curriculum guided curriculum development. Brunner, 1960-1966. Many of the science programs developed during the 1960s curriculum reform movement in the United States, such as BScs biology, were developed based upon the concept-related macro structure. Well, that's all from me. Miftahul Jannah will explain the next materials, so keep watching.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, I'm Miftahul Jannah and I will continue to explain the material. Okay, there are three primary types of epitomes corresponding to different goals for learning. The first one is conceptual. A conceptual epitome has as its synthesizer the top layer of materials. The second one is procedural. The synthesizer for a procedural epitome is a simplified parallel procedural structure. And then the last, theoretical. Frequently, a theoretical epitome may to be developed in a scanner similar to development of the simplified parallel structure of the procedural epitome. What is integrative curriculum tools and concepts? Some tools and concepts have particular utility to instructional designer working at the macro level. Next, scope and sequence. A fundamental curriculum on the vertical axis indicating what is planned for each strand. Okay, let's continue to object-oriented curriculum architecture. The object orientation facilitates the research of modules. A training or educational organizations can reap substantial development saving by applying an object orientation to its overall designs and development effort. After that, there is articulations. A fundamental curriculum concept is articulations. How the content articulations of two primary forms, vertical and horizontal, is of contrast concern for curriculum developers. Vertical articulations refers to designing curriculum that one unit builds upon the next, while horizontal articulations refer to linking across topics of the same levels of complexity. So there are four major types of curriculum sequencing structures. The first one is pre-subject curriculum organizations such as subject matter concern. The second one is correlations is achieved through effort to teach two or more subjects simultaneously. The third, fusions occur in curriculum when two or more subjects are combined into one course for other packing unit. For example, standard practice in schools. And then integrations as a form of curriculum organizational refers to the integrations of subject contents through some vehicle other than a content-based structure. Next, alternative views of curriculum designs. The traditional view is the sequence of topics or content. A content-based view of curriculum is obvious upon in sections of a college transcript. An integrated view places emphasis of a school's curriculum on what happens in the schools rather than verbal descriptions. When designers make decisions about curriculum organization alternatives, they are determining the kind of structure they wish to use facilitate it. It is important to remember that integrated approaches are not content-less, nor on the other hand, are content-centered approaches devoid or learner experience. Next, technologies assistance to targeted curriculum designs. The process technology of instructional design has an enormous benefit to offer in large-scale projects that the tools of goals finding and settings, content analysis, learner analysis, task analysis, appropriate assessment designs, appropriate strategies design, and formative and summative evaluations are what is needed to make larger scale project work. For example, World Wide Web. Next, prescriptions for curriculum designs. Curriculum organizations alternatives have traditionally been made on the basis of the allegiance to one or another world view or educational philosophy. Consequently, learner-centered curriculum tend to be recommended and adopted not by any problem solving or design process, but by associations with individuals who are advocates of the form of organizations. Primary considerations in determining curriculum organizations should be: the first one is context, and then learners, after that learning key, typically goals, and the last purpose of the curriculum. Okay, that's all for our explanations. We apologize if there is mistake. Thank you so much for your good attention. Don't forget to drop your questions in our WhatsApp group. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.